I'm in pursuit of making CSR a strong pillar rather than a filler.
Hello and welcome to In Pursuit of. Today's guest is Asim Khan, CSR Lead at Cadence Design Systems in India. Welcome, Asim.
Thank you so much.
So nice to have you here.
Thank you.
So, Asim, tell me, how do you go about this pursuit of yours at Cadence India?
So at Cadence India, our major pillar is STEM education, climate sustainability, and diversity, equity, and inclusions. And this is a global mandate by Cadence. And then we are in India doing projects under these pillars accordingly.
So, what are your projects like? What kind of projects or organizations or NGOs have you funded till now?
So there are 3-4 major projects that we are looking at under the education pillar. We are looking at a scholarship program wherein we provide scholarship for graduation and post-graduation. Till now, we have been able to provide more than 600 students with these scholarship, and you will be happy to know that more than 50% of these are girls, and that too girls in STEM education. So this is one project, and we have been running it for the last 5-6 years.
Okay, and any other?
And the other projects in the sustainability space, we have a project on stubble burning, in which we are working in a district in Haryana called Fatehabad. We have identified 10 villages, and in these 10 villages, we are working with 1,500 farmers.
Okay.
And these 1,500 farmers, we are making them groups, we are giving them technique, and also involving the nearby universities and the government employees so that they get to know why not to burn stubble and what to do with that stubble. So then they are also benefited and everybody is benefited and they don't burn it.
So, is this just like a training that you guys are doing via an NGO, or are you actually doing some technology innovations
so
also for them?
So we are working with CII Foundation here, and we are from the scratch starting with awareness, making farmers groups, and then these groups are trained how to use these machines. And these are in situ techniques and off situ techniques. Like in farm, how do you use these stubble in the farm also, and if you take it away, how it can be used outside the farm and they can be benefited. So it is a comprehensive program in that sense. So you're providing a solution also, and you're giving awareness as to why it is important to do so.
How long will this entire program of yours take?
So we will be there for at least 3 years, and then we'll assess what has been our impact. Have we been able to reduce the stubble burning cases? Have the incidences reduced? And then we'll assess after 3 years. So this is just our first year, and we have been able to significantly reduce, and our farmers are really into understanding what can be done with this stubble. So they are also using it in a much better manner now.
Interesting. So I wonder if other CSRs are also looking at this to adopt villages across Haryana and Punjab.
There are a few working in Haryana and Punjab, and now a lot of cases have come from Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, also Western UP. A lot of cases have come from Bihar, wherever there is rice. So this is rice residue primarily. So here the NGOs come with a solution. A lot of issues are there, and I think it will slowly. And government has also given a big push. Like both the central government and the state governments have appointed agriculture officers and what agriculture scientists, so that they can go talk in their language and understand their problem in a deep manner.
We need our youthful audience and their questions to take our mission of sharing stories and journeys to everyone. So please do write in with your questions and share them with us. Today, Anita is going to share certain questions from our audience with our guest.
Hello, sir. So my question is, how does Cadence choose NGO? And अगर NGO select मतलब नहीं हो पाते वो, then what happened next?
So that's a very good question. ये मुझे कई NGOs ने बताया है कि कई बार corporates don't turn back to them and tell them कि नहीं select हुआ है. I think you should be very open in telling कि नहीं हुआ है. It may pain your heart, but for the transparency perspective, you should tell. अब, for example, and this is one pain point of a CSR person like me, that you have limited resources and limited funds. You may believe in those 5 projects, but you only have limited funds to select maybe 2 or 3 out of them. So I think the communication should be clear with the NGOs कि आपका project select नहीं हुआ, क्योंकि just for the again the transparency perspective, कभी कभी एक थीमेटिक एरिया पे आपको 2-3 NGOs, you can make a comparative choice which is giving you a better sort of a proposal or a proposition. Then you select based on their past records and the past impacts that you have made. And then once it is not selected, you should clearly tell them that you are not selected.
Tell me something, how do you assess the NGOs that Cadence India funds, or what is your expectation of these NGOs when you fund them?
When I look at NGOs, I look at whether they are seasoned campaigners or not, whether the people working there have been there for the long haul or not. They have, what is their background, what has been their experience, so that you know that you are working with professionals who are there to give back. So that is how, when we look at shortlisting an NGO, we look at whether they are mapping our thematic area or not, whether they are in line with our thought, and what innovation or what impact they can bring on the ground.
But what's your expectation of them?
Once they are onboarded, I have trust in them. And my expectation is that their turnaround time should match the timelines that we have spoken about. They give us timelines that, okay, in these 3 months, they'll be giving a report, or this is what they're looking at a change. If they're meeting those timelines and if their turnaround time is good, they're giving us regular updates on whichever channel, email, WhatsApp. If they're keeping us in loop of whatever is happening on the ground and we are also visiting, then I think they're doing a fine job.
Wonderful. But what if it's something which can potentially take longer, and because of circumstances, situations, and how do you tackle that?
In that case, I also hold myself responsible. I try to assess what went wrong and how I can capacitate them so that the project can be, or the process can be, slightly escalated and we can meet our objectives.
What about the NGO itself? What change comes about in them after they get your support?
The way I look at it, so I am an individual contributor at Cadence India when it comes to CSR, but I never call myself an individual contributor, because the NGOs that we have onboarded, they are my extended team.
Right.
So when they are my team, I look at where they are stuck. Is it a report that they are not able to write? Is it something on the ground? Is there something that is not working? And if you can also involve your employees to volunteer. So for example, we have this school in Noida. It is an NGO run school and we support with the operations too. The science teacher somehow went away due to personal reasons. So there was no science teacher for 2 months in that school. Our volunteers went there and taught science for 2-3 months until the new recruit came in.
Wonderful.
So that is one way of looking. It is very easy to blame an NGO कि आपने ये नहीं किया और वो timeline match नहीं हुई. Once you have onboarded them, it is now your responsibility to work with them. And if you look at the core philosophy of CSR, it is talking about using the business acumen for the betterment of the NGOs, for the betterment of the process, for the betterment of the social development. So if I'm not able to use, आप सोचो कि अगर कोई आसिम खान है जिसने टिस से सोशल वर्क की डिग्री ली हुई है, BA और MA की, अगर कोई 10 साल बाद पूछे कि आसिम आपका क्या कंट्रीब्यूशन रहा, तो मैं ये कहूँगा कि मैंने सिर्फ पैसे दे दिए NGO को. मेरा तो कंट्रीब्यूशन ये है कि अगर if I capacitate the NGOs, more people will be reached out. There will be more beneficiaries added to the project. So that's how I look at it.
What is the one unique issue when it comes to CSR at Cadence India?
In general, these days there's a lot of trend where you have these CSR conclaves and summits, and there's a lot of bad mouthing that happens about CSR.
Seriously?
These days, there's almost a barrage or an arsenal of fundraisers that are there in the market, and they have been given targets, and they go so hard on those targets that they don't even realize. Whenever they meet you first, they say, "आपने हमें तो fund नहीं दिया." So then, if you look at, there are approx 24,000 companies doing CSR in India. There are lakhs and lakhs of NGOs in India. And you cannot fund everybody. Let me be very honest and blunt about it. But you can probably listen to all the NGOs and see if they align to your CSR objectives or your CSR policy or not. If they're not aligned, you can just politely tell them that you don't align. But even after that, these fundraisers try to align with your thought, even if you're NGO. So I'll say there's a lot of wrong commitment that happens just because they want funds. And because of those wrong commitments, when the evaluation of that project happens, they say, "आपने तब तो ये कहा था," and then it didn't go on the ground. So then this mismatch this is a marriage that happens between NGOs and the corporates. And then the mismatch of expectations is created because you want to achieve those fundraising targets. And whenever you meet these people, you can say 10 things to a corporate when you meet them. बट द फर्स्ट थिंग यू से कि आपने हमें तो नहीं दिया, या वो अभी पिछले कुछ दिन पहले मैं एक कॉन्क्लेव में गया, उन्होंने कहा कि आप बाकी सब बातें छोड़ दी, ये बताइए कि फंड कैसे मिलेगा. एज इफ वी आर कैरिंग द चेक बुक्स इन आवर पॉकेट्स. So you have to understand that there's a process. Even when we go in a board meeting, people like me, CSR managers like me, when we go in a board meeting, we are also advocating for an NGO. So we are NGO advocates, and the board is evaluating us. So there are 50 projects that come to us. 5 of them go to the board meeting, and we are now standing behind the NGO that this is the cause we believe in. This is the NGO we believe in, and they are also so. And out of those 5, maybe 1 or 2 get selected. But it pains my heart to say to the other 3 that your project didn't get selected.
Yeah.
But then you have to also understand our limitations. The funds are limited. And to all the NGOs listening there, all the fundraisers who are listening there, they might be saying कि ये तो एक side of the story हो गई, ठीक है. But somebody has to say that side of the story also. The recent financial year data that have come, there are across 25,000 corporates doing CSR. So there are a lot of corporates. You don't have to be bogged down. You don't have to feel frustrated if a particular corporate is not able to do CSR with you. There are other corporates. You just tap them.
I think the issue is how to tap other CSRs.
Yeah. There's
right?
also an issue.
Any thoughts around that?
I have, identified a lot of NGOs in which I give them capacity training as to how you can approach a corporate, how you can write a project proposal, how you can. Even I told there was a bunch of NGOs. I was doing a session with them. I even told them that if you get 100 seconds with an NGO, with a corporate, I told the NGO, if you get 100 seconds with a corporate, how will you introduce yourself?
Like an elevator pitch.
Yes. How you, and then so that they want to know more about you. So this is one contribution you can do. All the CSRs, all the people who want to contribute, if you're not able to fund them, try to capacitate them so that they can get funds from other sources. Tell them how to write a report, tell them how to write a NGO profile, tell them how to write a proposal, and tell them also how to represent themselves. Many of these NGOs don't know how to represent themselves. So there's a FOMO that has been created by these bigger NGOs so that the smaller NGOs don't get it. They'll say कि CSR conclave में जाने से कुछ नहीं होता है, networking से ही सब कुछ होता है, और आपको 2 मिनट की बातचीत से कोई पैसा नहीं मिलेगा. If you are able to represent yourself well, there will be people who will be hooked to listening to what else do you do. So you have to be confident and just shed off all the sort of negativity that has been put around the sector. There is enough fund available, enough corporates. You just need to tap the right ones. You have to tap who are working in your geographies, why they should be investing in your geographies, why they should be working in your cause. You should believe your cause. इट्स नॉट लाइक कि आप हेल्थ पे ही काम करते हो बट आपको कोई कॉर्पोरेट मिल गई जो एजुकेशन पे काम करता है, आपने अपने एफर्ट्स फंड रेजर्स ने एजुकेशन पे डाइवर्ट कर दिए जबकि आप काम करते ही नहीं हो. सो यू शुड प्ले इट इन अ वेरी वेरी स्मार्ट मैनर and seek help from the CSRs. If they're not able to give you funds, fine, but you can get into your heads what happens in a board meeting, what happens otherwise. You can ask them and they will be able to share their experience.
Wonderful. Now, there are certain states where very few corporates have presence. That means those corporates are not going to fund those projects in those states. Is there a mandate around this, like from the government, कि आप सिर्फ जहाँ आप काम करते हैं वहीं पे आप वो कर सकते हैं? क्या है?
So there is no such mandate, to be very honest. But I'll give you a fresh perspective on this. I'll agree that there are geographies that the corporates have not been able to reach out. And I'll also tell you that CSR has been only 10 years old, but even in those 10 years, the big changes that came in after 2021 mandate, the January mandate that came in, I'll say CSR is just born for 3 years. Before that, it was probably just writing a check. But when the laws changed from comply or justify, it was earlier comply or justify. Before January 2021, it was comply or justify. You just have to write कि हमने क्यों नहीं किया, क्यों spend नहीं कर पाया. But when it came to comply and penalize, you even see the government data, there was a spike in the number of corporates that are doing CSR. So in these 10 years that have gone by since 2014, corporates have not been able to reach out to certain geographies. Okay, and I see and I urge a lot of corporates to go into fields in areas which they have not been in the next 10 years. That should be your next year target. Now the corporate certainly needs to wider their ambit when it comes to geographies. I agree with you here.
Thank you so much, Asim. It was very nice talking to you, and it's lots of good work happening at
Yes.
your CSR at Cadence India.
Yes.
And some of the things that you mentioned were very, very helpful, So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I will continue my conversation with Asim Khan. Please stay tuned. We'll be back very, very soon.